Are you a witness, subject, or target of a criminal investigation? If unfortunately you are, this video is for you. Welcome everyone. I am Justin Paperny with Prison Professors. If you are watching this video on YouTube, thank you. Or if you're driving and listening to this on our Prison Professors podcast, I'd also like to thank you for letting us come into your home or your car or your mobile phone, iTablet, any of those things to help guide and prepare you for what can be a difficult experience. So I'm going to use in this video or podcast, I'm going to refer to this blog our team wrote at prisonprofessors.com. In the description, I will put a link to the blog so you can read the blog in its entirety. And while you're on Prison Professors, I encourage you to poke around and read other articles, blogs, videos that interest you. And while you're there, I encourage you to grab a copy of my partner's book, Earning Freedom, which chronicles his 26-year journey through prison and offers real strategies that will help you emerge stronger, whether you're serving a year, 10, 15, 20, or in his case, 26 years. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into, are you a witness, subject, or target? What does it exactly mean to be a witness or a subject or a target? A witness, typically, what that means is you have some information the government may deem important to an investigation. A witness doesn't necessarily have criminal exposure, though, of course, that could change at any time. There are no guarantees. Witnesses who lie, who obstruct justice, can immediately become a subject or worse, a target. But typically, witnesses are there to provide information and to help the government better understand the chronology of events. They may sit for interviews with federal agents, and in some cases, as was the case recently with a witness who retained our team at Prison Professors, his job was to prepare and testify before a grand jury. Worst case, if you're embroiled in a government investigation, I hope it never gets worse than being a witness. Subject, in my case, I was told that I was a subject, and of course, because there are no guarantees based on bad decisions that I made a long, long time ago, I went from being a subject to a target, which I'm going to get into next. But a subject is someone between a witness and a target. Maybe they're not quite sure. They're not quite sure how to judge you. They're not exactly sure what's going to come of you, which is so important that if you are part of a government investigation, that you speak openly and honestly with your lawyer, that if you interview with the government, you don't lie. In my case, I was nervous, scared, ashamed, embarrassed, in denial. I lied. It's part of the reason I went from a witness to a subject to a target pretty damn quickly. So if you're going to speak with the government, never lie. So a subject, you're in a really dicey, precarious situation. And as we reference in this blog, the Department of Justice Handbook defines a subject as a person whose conduct is within the scope of a grand jury's investigation. A subject's role or conduct appears suspicious, and prosecutors need more evidence before deciding whether to charge. Our team has been retained by a number of people over the years who were subjects. In some cases, they became a target, were indicted, pled guilty. In some cases, the investigation went away. Oftentimes, at, of course, discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office, resources they want to allocate, the evidence they have, how big of a priority is this, how well is the defendant, or not defendant, how well has the subject responded to the investigation, how helpful have they been. We've had some clients who were subjects who were able to provide information about other cases that compelled the U.S. attorney to keep them as subjects, not indict. So how much you help really goes a long way. Lastly, in the Department of Justice Handbook, if you're a subject, you want to be warned. You're warned before testifying to a grand jury, and you are advised of the Fifth Amendment right to self-incrimination. Again, if you're going to speak openly. Many subjects, when called, will indeed take the fifth. How many times have we heard that in a movie? I take the fifth, Your Honor. A target. Unfortunately, I was a target. And many of the people who retain our team, unfortunately, are targets based on bad decisions the government claims they made. Targets, very clear. Targets are those who prosecutors seek to charge with a crime. A grand jury may be considering the evidence. Or in another video we filmed, we talked about the pre-charge plea. In my case, I was never formally indicted. The U.S. attorney didn't bring it to a grand jury. I received a target letter. Then the FBI showed up at my home. From there, I retained a lawyer, and my lawyer engaged in settlement discussions or a pre-indictment plea with the U.S. government. But I was a target, but it didn't go to a grand jury. The Department of Justice handbook states that a person is a target where the prosecutor or grand jury has substantial evidence linking him or her to the commission of a crime. That was the case with me and unfortunately many of the people with whom we work. And if you are a target, the time is now to begin preparing, to begin understanding the stakeholders, to begin understanding what you can do through your own efforts to prove worthy of the shortest possible sentence. That includes mitigation. That includes working to hold your lawyer accountable, really working to demonstrate why you're better than the government's version of events. So it's not easy, but you have to prepare. Recently, our team received a call from I mentioned this in a lot of our videos and podcasts. Our team received a call from a defendant who had received a target letter. So it wasn't civil, it was criminal. He received a target letter. He was indicted eventually, hired a lawyer at a six-figure retainer, saw videos we filmed with federal judges on YouTube, wanted to retain us, and the lawyer said, it's too early to begin preparing. Just relax, sit back and let me do my thing, whatever that means. It's never too early to begin preparing. I like the show Better Call Saul, and there's a funny line in the movie when a potential client of Saul's asks him, hey, does hiring a lawyer make me look guilty? And Saul said, no, getting arrested does. So it's never too early to begin preparing. Please, whether you're a witness, subject, or target, there are so many things you absolutely need to do. Continuing on, let's talk about what is a person of interest. Somewhere along the spectrum, we wrote in this blog, from witnesses to subjects and targets, another category of people may become involved in a federal investigation. That person is a person of interest. The FBI uses this term to describe someone law enforcement wants to talk to about an ongoing criminal investigation. In my case, a person of interest might have been a stockbroker at Bear Stearns that I managed to share 2 or 3 accounts with, and they wanted to speak with that person just to learn more about my work, to see if indirectly he was involved with some of the other things that I was doing, to see if he had any information relevant to my crime or what I knew. And we write about that in this paragraph. Persons of interest can be anyone who might have information pertinent to the crime, information that could lead to the suspect, or information that could compel a target to plead guilty. These are all things that you need to understand as you're traversing this new and foreign world. A pro tip that we include here: should any law enforcement agent reach out to you to ask you some questions, first thing you have to do is retain competent counsel. You've got to learn how to work with a lawyer, hire a lawyer. If you have questions about how to hire a lawyer, I encourage you to go to prisonprofessors.com, schedule a call with our team, and we will walk you through some absolutes you need to consider when retaining a lawyer. Absolutes. Even if you are technically being charged with a crime, you don't have criminal backgrounds. The majority of the people with whom we work are not criminogenic. They have not been in and out of the system their whole life. And while some have retained lawyers, a bankruptcy lawyer, a divorce lawyer, a civil lawyer, whatever it may be, the art of hiring a criminal defense attorney is very difficult. And frankly, most people lack the skill set to do it. So if you have been charged, if you're a target, if you're a subject, if you're a person of interest, you need to lawyer up, but you need to hire the right lawyer at the right cost at the right time. And our team can help you, because we've worked with lawyers all across the country and we know how to vet a lawyer. It's a lot of time that you'll save money, but more importantly, hiring the right lawyer will get you on track to the best possible outcome. As I wrap up this video, 8 key reminders when dealing with a federal investigation. And again, for those of you listening to this podcast on iTunes, I encourage you to go to prisonprofessors.com, go to our blog, and you can read this whole blog on what it's like, or how to manage being a witness, subject, or a target of an investigation. So let's close with 8 key reminders when dealing with a federal investigation. Number 1, remember that witness, subject, targets, or person of interest are just labels that can change at any time. They're not binding on the government. Prosecutors do not have to tell people when they fit into that investigation. At times, they may even mislead, dare I say lie, and tell you that you're a witness when you may actually be a target. Thereafter, an end, conviction. And sometimes the means or the way they get there is secondary. You've got to never forget that. Number 2, be proactive, protect yourself. I mentioned this a moment ago, the importance of retaining and hiring the right lawyer. Schedule a call with our team to learn about mitigation, but also how to vet and hire the right lawyer. Number 3, dealing with a federal investigator from the FBI, IRS, Secret Service, it's a really big deal. And most people have no experience in it. One lie, one misrepresentation can be devastating. In my case, unfortunately, because I wasn't prepared to meet with the government when I was a subject, I lied, and later learned because of that lie, it led to the prosecution, and they also could have charged me with obstruction of justice, which happens when you lie to a federal agency, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Number 4, concerns about sending the wrong message or appearing guilty often dissuade people from bringing counsel to any interview. Foolish, stupid, dumb. Okay, like I said in that Better Call Saul, does it make me look guilty hiring a lawyer? No, getting arrested or getting a letter or being told that you're a target of an investigation does. Lawyer up, hire the right lawyer. You cannot go in there on your own. You don't have the skill set to do it. Hiring a lawyer does not mean that you are admitting guilt. It means that you have a brain and you know what you're doing. Number 5, make an honest and realistic assessment of the situation. Conduct that may have seemed perfectly acceptable in the past, the government now may consider wrongful. This is an important topic. A number of people who get into trouble view their conduct as civil, and our team agrees. We send too many people to prison in this country. We believe many of these cases at war should be handled civilly, though that doesn't mean the government doesn't, they have a different perspective. Clearly, by making you a target or arresting you, they view your conduct as criminal, as very serious. So what you need to do is try to the extent that you can, put yourself in the shoes of the stakeholder, the prosecutor. Learn from people who have gone through this. Read case studies. Speak with people. If you worked with our team, you'd speak with clients who have gone through this, who initially didn't view their conduct as criminal, maybe still don't, but came to understand the government's position of how cooperating witnesses were painting a narrative. So it takes introspection. It takes jumping out of denial. You cannot live like an ostrich with your head buried in the sand, pretending this isn't happening or taking place. It requires you to be honest, and that can be hard. The facts are stubborn things. Confronting them can be hard, and looking back to bad decisions you may have made can be hard. But what's harder is serving a longer term in prison, and the decisions you make now will matter. Number 6, if you are approached by a federal agent, be polite, be curious, be helpful, be kind. Tell them you want to cooperate, but you need to consult with a lawyer. They're going to understand that. They know that you're mostly likely going to say that. Having impromptu conversations or rationalizing or excusing or defending is a bad idea. I think to the Wolf of Wall Street movie with Jordan Belfort, when those FBI agents go see him on his yacht. And I don't know how much of this is true because it's a Hollywood movie, but you see the way that he tried to negotiate, influence, almost bribe the FBI agents by asking, well, how much do you make as an agent? And I can make you that. It was a very funny scene, but those are things that you don't want to do. Be courteous, be polite, lawyer up. Number 7, don't be intimidated or concerned about appearing to make matters more difficult or uncooperative for asking to speak to a lawyer. Again, they'd be stunned if you didn't ask for a lawyer. Now, they'd love for you to open up and tell them everything they want to hear after they've met with you, but it's not in your interest. Lastly, remember that anything you say can and likely will be used against you in a subsequent proceeding. If you are arrested, you will not have the ability to later assert that you would not have spoken to law enforcement if you knew you could have been charged. This is partly why we're filming this video, for you to understand how everything you say and everything you do influences what will happen. As I conclude this video and podcast on what it's like to be a witness, subject, or a target, including 8 things you can do to better prepare if unfortunately you are, let me conclude. It's a big deal when the FBI, the Secret Service, the IRS launches an investigation. They're investing government resources, which means you need to begin preparing immediately. That you're listening to this podcast or watching this video is a good place to start, but you've got to go further. It's one thing to listen to it. It's one thing to understand it. It's another thing to mitigate and put a plan of action in order. So you know what to do. We're telling you what to do to lawyer up. Our team can help you find the best lawyer. We're telling you to mitigate and work and to create a new record and speak openly and honestly. Whether you do it or not is your choice. We'd love to help you. Those people who tend to do it get better outcomes. That much I can tell you. Whether you're labeled a witness, a subject, or a person of interest, someone making any misrepresentation or mistake when speaking to the government can be charged with obstruction or lying to a federal agent, again, punishable by up to 60 months in prison. In all cases, proceed carefully by talking to experienced counsel and consultants as early as possible in this investigation. Forgive me, the phone is ringing. Thank you to everyone for listening to this podcast and watching this video. Everyone on our team has gone through a government investigation. We know it's not easy. Our motto is we serve the time so you don't have to. Learn from us, profit from the mistakes that we've made, profit from all the good that we have done as well. We want you to be successful. We want to help you. We want to guide and educate you. To that end, go to prisonprofessors.com, download our resources, take the time, and you'll be much further along in this process. Oh, and lastly, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to Prison Professors on our YouTube channel. I look forward to returning soon. I am Justin Paperny. It's my privilege to help you. Goodbye.